Origins of Callisto. Callisto is the former leader of the Morlocks. After M-Day, she lost her powers, but recently she recovered them back. Callisto's origins are unknown, although she has claimed that the scars she bears are proof of how dumb a mistake it was for her to try to live among normal humans. In one of her earlier appearances, her greatest psychological fear is the image of the beautiful woman that she once was, although she may have overcome that as of the present. When Callisto first appeared, she was leader of the Morlocks, a group of mutants who lived in the sewers. The Morlocks were first formed well over 20 years ago by Callisto, Sunder, Caliban, and Mask. In her first appearance, Callisto kidnapped Angel and stripped him of most of his clothing, intending to make him her mate. Callisto also attempted to cripple Angel by cutting away his primary feathers. To rescue Angel, Storm challenged and beat Callisto in a duel for the leadership of the Morlocks. As the new leader of the Morlocks, Storm decreed that they would no longer kidnap and terrorize surface dwellers, and in return they would have peace. Callisto regards Storm with both resentment and respect due to Storm defeating her in hand-to-hand combat, but she sneers at what she considers Storm's weakness, namely her conviction not to take a life, or to take revenge on baseline humans that despise mutants. Callisto attempted to take revenge on the X-Men by trying to force Kitty Pryde to wed Caliban, and battled Storm again. When the wizard Gaff enslaved the city of New York and transformed it into a Hyborian Age city, Callisto became his warrior servant. She battled Storm again, but Storm saved her life. Callisto helped defeat Gaff, and as a result Callisto and her allies found themselves on a new timeline where Gaff never transformed New York. Thereafter, Callisto found herself as more of an ally to the X-Men. She rescued Professor Xavier after he was nearly killed by anti-mutant Columbia University students. She also saved Power Pack from the Morlocks Annalie and Mask. Callisto was wounded during the Marauders' massacre of the Morlocks, and took refuge with the X-Men. She befriended Storm and convinced her not to give up leadership of the X-Men. Callisto would divvy her time after that between slumming it with the X-Men and resuming her stance as a squatter in the underground every now and then. From battling the likes of Donald Pierce to taking in runaways escaping from horrible lives begotten from domestic abuse. Encountering her old rival from the past over missing persons whom the former Morlock Queen had taken to sheltering within her misbegotten sewers. She and her little refugees even saw the beautiful, if albeit mournful, display of an aurora borealis as a parting tribute by Storm to commemorate the passing of her longtime friend, teammate and former lover, Wolverine. When the mutants in her care came back to her neck of the underground with an odd affliction, Callisto ended up calling Monet for assistance in an anonymous manner, but would find herself dismayed at the sight of one whom helped in the slaughter of her people, Sabretooth. Initially, the two would get into a brutal bout where Victor ended up taking the Spelunker's pot shots as penance for her people's murders from years back, but the fight was quickly broken up by M before things got too far out of hand. Callisto would inquire as to the real reason why it is she called the X-Men for help. She revealed to them that, while Professor X may be gone, his dream still lives on as she'd founded a new Morlock community within her hidden passages. Many of the new residents were mutants driven below ground by the Terrigen cloud roving across the globe, coupled with a great many humans whom were frightened by the current happenings in the world as it stood, that same fear driving the two races together all under the watchful protection and care of their patron. This however was not the happy scene said caregiver was interested in showing her new guests however. The truth of the matter being that her denizens were steadily dying again due to malformities that were causing severe biodegradation. One of the sick patients showed alarmingly familiar symptoms which Ms. Croy immediately recognized. Callisto on the other hand was at a loss for words as she'd never witnessed one of her flock act in such a hostile manner while protruding maud tendrils before. M reveals that the stricken mutants in their benefactor's newfound society have been enthralled by her vampiric brother M-Plate. Hence the spontaneous monsterization happening before their eyes. The three of them immediately set about tracking those whom had taken the unafflicted members of the neighborhood back to the lair of their sire as a means to bait Monet along, eventually reaching the end of the trail Marius left for them, Negotiations would quickly break down as Creed went on the warpath. Not long afterwards, Callisto would attempt to aid her rescuer/helper in battling the mutant leech, but was quickly knocked out of the fight not long afterward. She would later turn up in prison at an incarceration facility designed specifically for mutants. Her reason for being slated at the box were never touched upon. What was known is that she was the new cellmate of one of the recently incarcerated X-Men, Kate Pryde. While the ladies have their time out in the yard, Callisto offers warnings that some of the inmates at the correctional facility are all too eager to get a piece of one of the uncannies to boost their prison cred. Specifically speaking, the femme cell block alpha by the name of Crazy Maisie, backed by other female prisoners Electric Eve, Animax and Bliss, all of whom were put up to brawling with the X-Women by Callisto. The later of whom seeing the situation as a personally beneficial escapade, seeing as Catherine, Rakhen and Aurora's failure leads to satisfaction. Otherwise, their success enables her to take the alpha position while the women's prison sect. All the while simply enjoying the show, seeing as she could never beat the taller, bullier mutant herself as it stood. While Kitty and them would eventually be let out of jail on good behavior, Callisto soon escaped confinement upon hearing news of the former's wedding. As the Empress of the Underground bears nothing but ill tidings should the ex-veteran do anything to harm her lost love, Pyotr Rasputin. Catherine wonders how she got out of prison, but her would-be kidnapper refrains from divulging her secrets as the two fight for a little while. The assailant leaves with the simple advice of not hurting her old flame lest Callisto be the one to crack down on her for it later. After the events of X-Men Disassembled, Cyclops took to traveling around looking up old contacts of the now distorted mutant community, eventually hitting up the Morlock tunnels where he is confronted by Callisto over his being welcomed down in her domain or not. But she is held up by new resident chamber, after the world above came down to hers and kicked the ever-loving smack out of everyone again. Tragedy would strike the Morlocks once more when the purported marauders had set upon the Lowlies in the New World's wake. Callisto waylaying Logan with a knife to the eye in hopes of securing one of their number to kill herself. She fell off the grid again after Chamber rejoined Psyche's X-Men. Powers and abilities. Callisto had heightened strength and reflexes, and also possessed enhanced senses of sight, smell, taste, hearing, and touch. She later developed a mutant tactical ability, and was able to immediately intuit the solution to any tactical problem, be it a particular circumstance or an opponent. She was classified as a Delta-level mutant. For a short while her arms were transmorphed into tentacles by Masuk adding to her fighting prowess, she lost them after M-Day. Even without her powers, Callisto is an excellent tactician, huntress and tracker, and a very formidable and capable leader. She is skilled in virtually every form of hand-to-hand combat known, and is also adept in the use of knives, which she frequently employs.